Yeah, okay, we're now recording. Thank you, Skype, for lagging a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Thrashers Paradise. And today we are joined with a very special guest, all the way from Calgary. His name is Rogan, and he is part of the metal band Arcana. Rogan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Now, from what I've heard from the Calgary scene, is there's a lot of thrash, there's a lot of death, but Arcana isn't like the other bands. It sounds very different from the rest. Was that the main idea when it came to the creation of Arcana, to be different from the typical Calgarian band?
I think that's part of it, but mainly it's just sort of my influences that I was brought up on. Like I've enjoyed bands like Rush from a very young age, and from there I sort of expanded into more progressive rock and prog metal, and yeah, and those influences have kind of conglomerated into the sound of Arcana.
How long has Arcana been part of that Calgary scene?
Oh, well, I haven't done any gigging with it at all. And really this EP is the first sort of push out there. It's been circulating in my head for a long time, but it hasn't quite hit the page yet until this past year.
No, well, I do have to say, though, it is quite the album title for this first part of the EP. It is Letters from a Lost Soul, Act 1, The World's, if my computer will let me, The World One Form. Did I say the whole album thing right? Please tell me.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect. For you, what really inspired you to make an Act 1 and an Act 2 kind of EP style?
Yes, so I'm very much influenced by rock opera and opera at large for this project. So there's going to be like multiple acts and two different arcs, and it's all going to expand within this same world, sort of Coheed and Cambria-esque.
Okay.
Yeah.
I as a lover of that kind of symphonic and metal arc of the prog and all those wonderful kind of operatic genres, I do have to say, I think it's a great EP from what I've heard of it. I think it's really great. But the main part for me, I do have to wonder, is why the title Letters from a Lost Soul?
Oh, so that plays into sort of the story and what's playing off of the characters. This is sort of a prologue to the entire arc and the entire story. In this moment, Damien, the main character, is working on this failing space program that is far from home, and he hasn't seen his wife or his first child in quite a long time. Like there's stretches of time that he hasn't been with his family, so he writes letters back and forth with his wife Hope.
Okay, that is really cool. It makes a lot of sense. Now, when it comes to writing and kind of like an album format like this, very much a concept album with a story involved, do you write the songs first, or do you kind of just clear your mind and start writing this story before you start truly getting involved into each song?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, yeah. So the process for this album was very much I actually had some of the next albums, the future albums, sort of written out first, and then I came back to this as sort of an introduction to that entire story. But originally, I didn't write those songs with the whole story in mind. They just kind of the thematic material all came together and just sort of clicked for me, and then I expanded that to multiple acts, and these two are going to be delving into, and then I wrote the songs based on that general outline of the story that that I had. So there were parts of it in the future albums that I've pieced into that story that just worked and made it click. And then for this EP, I did write it with the whole story in mind.
Awesome. Now, how many acts are involved with Letters of a Lost Soul?
So Letters from a Lost Soul is going to be 3 acts. I'm still going back and forth between whether I want Act 2 and 3 to be a double album release or to like spread them out a little bit. But then beyond that, the second arc is going to be Atlas Lost, and it is going to be 6 or 7 acts.
Oh,
Yes.
awesome. That sounds awesome. Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry. That just really just made my mind go, whoa. No, that is amazing that you are putting so much thought and care into this whole album, this whole story. I think that's awesome and wonderful. For you, does this story kind of relate to you in real life? Like, where is the inspiration coming from for this story?
So not a whole lot based on me specifically, but I draw the characters from specific emotions. Like Damien feels a lot of anxiety around the pressures he's facing from his like failing line of work and being away from his family and his home, where Hope is more drawn on sort of depression and later some anger. And it's all revolving around this tragedy that is being built up over this album and is really going to be expressed over the next act of Letters from a Lost Soul.
Now, Act 1 did come out earlier this month on the 6th. What has the response been like so far from fans or new listeners to this EP?
Oh yeah, so I've definitely I've heard a lot from like specific people, just having conversations, and I love like talking with people and what they are doing and bouncing back and forth, just little bits of chatter. But yeah, I've already like gained sort of a small network of people I'm communicating back and forth with. And it helped too that I had like a couple connections as well from like my gigging days with other bands.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like otherwise it's being just sort of thrown out there. It's not like a huge response from people, but I'm sort of happy with the progress it's made for just sort of, yeah, chucking an EP out there. And
Awesome. Now, Arcana, like we mentioned earlier, is very different from a lot of the other bands in the Calgarian scene, and you could say some of the other scenes as well. For you, do you look at it as an advantage or a disadvantage to being different from the rest?
well, I find so there's multiple takes that I can take from that. Um, One being that, yeah, like a lot of like the metal scene is more focused around sort of, yeah, thrash and a little bit of melodic and stuff like that. Where so that would make it sort of more difficult to fit into the metal scene, which is why I more think of myself as like progressive rock and more towards the like contemporary slash pop style of that. So I'm trying to, yeah, sort of more market towards that audience here, especially with like influences like Rush and like Supertramp and Boston and all those people that sort of fit in among the more metal side of my influences. But on the other hand, I bring in this conglomeration of like different musical styles. Like I'm a classically trained guitarist, so I draw a lot from that. And so yeah, like including more sort of Latin styles as well, and we'll hear that in my upcoming album that I've began recording. But also like I've included like sort of Celtic influence, and I'm trying to surround myself with a diverse crowd of people as well, which like being that rock opera and having the different people in different voices as characters, like Anna who plays Hope on this EP. I'm expanding on that, and I'm hoping to draw from like a more contemporary sound for some people and more maybe like hard rock for another character, and I have these specific voice types in mind for who to play them.
Awesome. I was gonna say awesome. That's amazing. I find this very interesting, very cool. You know, like just hearing all this stuff that goes into a kind of the concept or storyline of a character work when it comes to musically putting it out there. I think that's just amazing. And you did mention throughout that answer recording the next part. Can we expect Act 2 and maybe Act 3 due out sometime, maybe next year, maybe early 2022?
Yes. So how I'm structuring this right now, the EP was sort of an introduction, and what I'm actually recording next is Act 1 of Atlas Lost.
Oh.
And I'm going to sort of throw in Letters from a Lost Soul as more maybe like flashbacks or memories during that time. Yeah.
Okay.
So this EP sort of sets the stage, and then the larger arc is what's going to play as the main story.
Damn, that is cool. No, that is amazing. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having a blank. No, that is all amazing for you. I just gotta know, with all this going on, how do you properly like figure out, okay, this is what's next, this is what's next, this is what the story should be, this is like, how do you properly figure it all out and get it all set up to what you wanted to come out as?
So what I've been doing, I have like lists in the notes in my phone. Like I figured out sort of I like narrowed down what I wanted for the act titles first, based on sort of the general like overarching story that I wanted to tell, and then within each of those that are going to be the album titles, I started thinking, okay, what are the smaller story beats that I want, and then that created the song titles for those, and so then I have, from just those titles and like general descriptions in the ones that are like more like sooner upcoming, I write, yeah, more like sort of general descriptions of what I want to happen in the story, and then I use those descriptions and draw from the emotions that the characters may feel to write the music in like a very specific sort of sound.
Awesome. Now, Rogan, I do have one last question to ask you, and we ask this to all first-time guests appearing on Thrashers Paradise, just as a little fun way to end things out and make you think, or hopefully not think as much. We call it the poser question, just to make sure you have a general knowledge of metal and rock culture. Question is simple: who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
Oh, geez. I have no idea how to to go about answering that question. Man. Well, I think we can kind of narrow down based on like, do we think that both of them are maybe corporeal somewhere?
I hate to ask this, but what does corporeal mean?
Like have a grounding sort of body.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll give you this. You did just give the most interesting answer to that question. I think that's awesome. Well, Rogan, thank you so much for your time. I know your time is very busy and very valuable, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to come here and join me for these couple of minutes just to chat about the brand new EP, which is out now, which you can listen to on Bandcamp, I want to say, Spotify,
Yeah,
and
pretty
other
much anywhere.
platforms.
Yeah.
Excellent. Is there anything else you want the people to know?
Um, I'm streaming the recording process for the new album if anybody wants to check out. That is, oh man, what is the link for that? It's like twitch.tv/ the Arcana Collective. Let me just double check on that real quick.
Okay.
And I have a Discord as well for anybody who wants to join in and chat. So yeah, the Twitch is the Arcana, or sorry, where is it? Copy link. Let me see this. Let me just paste it in here quick. It is m.twitch.tv/ the Arcana Collective.
Awesome. And make sure so go on to Twitch to see Rogan record.
Yes.
Just explain it, and I'm just trying to re-explain it. I guess I don't know. Rogan, thank you so much for your time, and until next time, everyone, keep on thrashing.